everybody. I wanted to give a little bit of encouragement, and again, I have it written down because I'm emailing it out to people. So I'm going to kind of read it to you at the same time, be talking to you, okay? So I hope this will help. So, what I said in my email is your life everything you'd hoped it would be. Many of us have wondered, how did I end up in this situation? The sickness, the bad marriage, the financial mess. Well, the good news is you haven't ended up yet. Your story is not finished. So if you want a happy ending, that depends, of course, on where you stop your story. Do we stop it now or do we go on? Excuse me. Everyone has a story, and everyone's life is a story. That's why we love the movies so much. All movies tell us a story. They are our stories edited into 2 or 3 motion pictures, or 2 or 3 hours at least. I know in my own experience, I've often expected life to be predictable, for it to go how I planned it, right? Way back. Go to school, go to college, have a career, get married, have kids, live happily ever after. But how many know that life is not really lived in a straight line? Oh boy, can I relate to that. The reality is our lives are filled with bends and curves, cliffhangers, and lots of surprises. Our life is moving. It's a journey full of all kinds of turns and obstacles, mistakes. Oh, I'm talking about myself. Does it sound familiar? I learned that life is not a simple straight line. Our life is a story, and sometimes it's a comedy. Sometimes it's a tragedy. Sometimes it's a sob story or a horror story or a never-ending story. But in the end, it will become a glorious story. The Bible is a story. It's God's story, and it's full of twists and turns. It's full of people's failures, and it's full of their victories. But the good news is God is the author, and he's the finisher of the story. Maybe your life's all tangled up in knots right now, with worry, financial pressure, or family problems, or no matter what's going on right now in your life, your story does not have to end there, okay? In fact, look at this beautiful verse in the Word of God. I'm going to read it to you. He was never without a story when he spoke. When he was alone with his disciples, he went over everything, sorting out the tangles and untying the knots. And that's Mark 4:33 and 34. And it's in a Bible called the Message Bible, which is an easier to understand Bible. The story is in motion. Your story is in motion. But we only see the current snapshot of it. Life is not a still shot. It's not an Instagram post or a Facebook post. It's an unfolding book, and it's a motion picture. It's a moving story, and it's changing, and it's heading towards an amazing, unfolding, beautiful life. You gotta believe that, guys. Our stories are filled with adventure, with boredom, with victories, with defeats. Our stories have us all tied up in knots, but you know what? God is the master, and he's sorting those knots out for you. When we expect life to be a straight line with no twists and turns, we tend to be emotionally unhealthy because everything becomes a crisis when it's not a straight line and when things don't go according to plan. But when you view life as a story and live this adventure by faith, you can sit back and you can enjoy the journey. It's all about perspective. Perspective is really powerful. When you change how you see a thing, it changes how you feel about life without changing the thing. Just changing your perspective will change everything. Someone said, we are all faced with a series of great opportunities, brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. That's perspective. But it's amazing how different people can see the same thing and have two different completely reactions based on just what they see. Two shoe salesmen were sent to Africa 100 years ago. One sent a telegram home and said, "Get me home. Nobody even wears shoes here." The other salesman's telegram said, "Send me all the shoes you can. Nobody wears shoes here." The facts were the same, but the perspective changed everything. Your perspective is the way you see something. When David's brothers saw Goliath, they thought, "He's so big, we can never kill him." When David saw Goliath, he thought, "He's so big, I can't miss him." You see how the different perspective works? No matter what you're going through, no matter what mistakes you've made, it's your perspective that will determine your happiness and your joy. You can have peace knowing that your life is a story. God is the author and the finisher of your beautiful story. How do I know it's beautiful? Because the Word of God says so. He says, He makes all things beautiful in His time. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 11. Is everything beautiful yet in your life? No? Then it's not your time yet. God's still making it. God is still writing your story with His own hands. And your life is in His hands. He has a plan for your life. He has a plan for your wrong turns. Your mistakes don't change the destination that He has planned for you. Because wherever and whatever you put in His hands, guess what? He's going to take it, He's going to shape it, He's going to bend it, and He's going to bring it about His best for your life. I've always said, what the enemy sends to defeat you, guess what? God bends it to complete you. Look at the life of Joseph. His story could have ended up with being the spoiled child, but it didn't end up that way. It could have ended with being hated by his brothers, but the story didn't end there. It could have ended in the pit where his brothers threw him, but his story didn't end there either. It could have ended as a slave in Potiphar's house, but it didn't end there. It could have ended being accused by Potiphar's wife of sexually assaulting her. But guess what? It didn't end there either. It could have ended being left for dead in Pharaoh's prison. But his story didn't end there. It could have ended being forgotten by the baker and the cup maker. But his story didn't end there. He ended up becoming like the prime minister of Egypt. But his story still didn't end there. He was put in charge of the entire food supply of the whole world. And his story still didn't end there. Think about it. You meant evil towards me, but God meant it for the good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. And that was in Genesis 50:20. How amazing is this? Joseph had the right perspective. What the enemy sent to defeat him, God bent to complete him. Sometimes I feel like that's my life. Without Joseph saving his brothers, particularly Judah, through his tribe, that's where Jesus came, Jesus wouldn't have been. Now, through Jesus, we are a part of Joseph's story, and he is a part of our story. We can continue to save the lives of many by bringing the Bible and the Word of God to them, feeding their souls and feeding their bodies too. Do you see how life is an unfolding story? Our story is unfolding. The story continues. Right now, more than ever in our lifetime, people need God. to start bending what the enemy has been sending to us. So many families in the United States and Canada and all over the world are struggling because of COVID-19. People have been hit really hard financially through business closures, layoffs, and uncertain times. And the demand for food throughout the world has reached crazy levels. But like Joseph, our story isn't about our brothers bowing to us. It's so much bigger. It's about us serving our brothers and our sisters around the world. We need to be here to help save the lives of many. Some hearing me talk might think that I'm crazy when we're all struggling and I'm saying that, but I know for a fact because that's how my life has been. My story still isn't over. What chapter is your life in right now? Is it a dramatic chapter? Is it a horror chapter? Is it a comedy chapter? Maybe a sickness chapter? An unfinished chapter? Don't worry. Why? Because your story's not ending there. Your story isn't over. Be encouraged that no matter what you're facing, everything will be all right. Wherever your story is right now, trust the author. Trust the finisher. Believe God today. I know this revelation will inspire you to continue. It will inspire you to look up and expect God to turn things around for the good, for His glory, not for yours, for His glory. Remember, whatever you put your hands to, He will heal and shape you for the better. God will untangle all the knots in your life and free you to move on towards a winning chapter of your lifetime. Your story is part of my life. And my story is part of your life. As we realize that our stories include saving as many people as we can truly make an impact in this world. Let's all be a part of someone else's story. Let's love each other. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for helping us in our ministry. We couldn't do it without you, I'm telling you. God bless you for your amazing compassion and for your support in our ministry. I know it's been a tough time that we're going through, but there's so many of us who have come and pitched in to help these little children all over the world that we're trying to help. God bless you. Remember, your story isn't finished yet. Trust God, because your story is going to be amazing. God bless you. Love you all. Bye.